And you guys are live.
Good morning and welcome to the Village of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for Friday, June 10th. First on the agenda, we have the minutes from May 13th, 2002. Do I have a motion to
So moved.
accept the minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. We have, moving on to the determinations, we have 3 determinations today, and files are available at Village Hall for reviewing. We have booked Georgica LLC. The record was left open for written comment. Well, this is the one, Joe, you want to make a comment on, right?
Sure. Do we have any more written comments from the public? I assume no, but.
No.
Right. Okay, so first of all, thank you for agreeing to hold it open so I could go and do a site visit. I did. I understand the application. I think it makes sense. The one question I have just in reading the determination is my understanding, and the attorney I see is present. Just want to make sure there is no intention to do any additional structure, accessory structure, and that's the intent of the covenant, correct? Is that correct?
That is correct. Hopefully you can hear me.
Okay, so can I just propose that we amend the determination so that the existing pool, 250-foot pool house that is permitted, and to the extent if there were a desire to for some reason relocate, not that they wouldn't be able to do that, but that should come back to BSA if that were in a conforming location. With that, there's no objection to that. That would be my one proposal.
Oh, any other comments?
No.
Mr. Chairman, there is one caller on the line. I don't know if they're here about this application though.
Okay.
All right, I'll put them
Jody-
through.
Okay.
Caller ending with 5. Yep.
Morning.
Mitch, 49 Georgia Road. Are we discussing now the Jack DEV proposal?
Not
No.
yet.
Okay, I'll
Okay.
remute.
That's going to be probably about 10, 15 minutes.
All right, they're back muted.
All right. We have a book, Georgica LLC. The record was left open for written comment. Motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Harry, you got to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Sorry. Aye.
Okay. In the application of book Georgica LLC, 82 Applecog Road, Suffolk County Tax Map number 301-12-5-8 to legalize construction of a residence is approved. May I have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second, please.
Second, as amended with the covenant.
Pam, hold the board.
Mr. McGurk,
Yes.
Mr. McMullen,
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell,
Yes.
Mr. Rose. I mean,
Yes.
Ms. Rose. No, sorry. Mr.
Yeah.
Rose,
Yes.
Ms. Doyle.
Yes, can I add as amended with covenant also?
Yes.
Thank you.
In the application of Bluebird LLC, 253 Cofala Road, Suffolk County Tax Map number 301-12-2-18.2 to construct an addition to an existing residence is approved. May I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
Pam, can you please pull the board?
Mr. McGurk,
Yes.
Mr. McMullen,
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell,
Yes.
Mr. Rose,
Yes.
Ms. Doyle.
Yes,
Okay, and our last determination in the application of Traumhaus 1 LLC, 75 West End Road, Suffolk County Tax Map number 301-15-5-11.1 for a 1-year extension of time of a coastal erosion hazard permit, and a variance is approved. May I have a motion?
Before motion, can I just make a quick comment, which is that I just drove by the site again to confirm. There are, as mentioned before, there's a public easement to public property adjoining the site, the construction site to the west. And there's also some land on that. The construction vehicles for this project are parked on that public land, and there also are some rocks that are, everyone's putting rocks there to prevent parking, but the vehicles are being parked on the public property, and there are rocks placed on the public property that, as I've discussed with the Public Works Department, should be removed promptly. That being said, I have no problem with the application. Motion.
We'll ask Pam to forward
Was
that.
there a motion?
May I
I'm
have a
sorry, I missed
motion?
it.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Is that you, Pam, talking?
I'll poll the
Okay.
board. Mr. McGurk?
Second? Yes.
Mr. McMullen?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Ms. Doyle?
Yes.
All right, we have two requests to reopen hearings. We have, I can't say the Kaya, John, how do you say this?
Acacia.
John Tarver? Acacia Green LLC, 8 Marina Lane. Jonathan?
Hi, John. Sorry, I was just signing in. I don't know how you say it.
I don't either.
Acacia?
Acacia. We'll go with Pam's version.
Thank you, Pam.
So do we
Yeah, I don't
need a
think I-
motion from the board to reopen? Lisa?
I make a motion to reopen.
Second, can I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay.
If it's appropriate, I'll just do a
All in
brief.
favor?
Sorry.
Aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
Go ahead. Thank you, Jonathan.
Oh, it's okay. I know when to shut up.
Go ahead, it's your floor right now.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. You were voting to reopen the hearing. I thought you were voting to approve it, in which case I was definitely not
No,
going
Open,
So,
open. Thank you.
So the reason why we submitted to reopen was that we had originally asked for a relatively large variance, and just as I'd explained at the hearing, the architect is still working with the owner of the property, and upon further reflection, we were pushing it as the board remembers. We own both properties, so they just decided that pushing it as close to our own property as we were requesting from the board was probably not the best for us. So we're actually moving it further from our shared common boundary line, and therefore requesting a smaller variance.
Okay. And
And I had a question. And the covenant to remove it upon sale, and the covenant to not ask for any other variances when designing the house, that's still part of this ask. Is that correct?
So I submitted a letter on that, and we're definitely not going to offer something and then pull it away. However, and we certainly are definitely not asking for any other variances. So that's an easy one. I'm wondering if that could be a condition, just because recording documents, maybe it could be a condition, and that would be up to you guys and the village attorney, but maybe that could be a condition of the approval that no further variance could be granted, but whatever works there legally for everybody is fine. Because it's a smaller request, we also requested the board maybe consider not requiring the covenant that if it's ever sold, the tennis court be removed, just because of the amount of landscaping and expenditures on the court. If any property were ever sold, it would be expensive, and the property is basically being designed around the variance. So because we're requesting a smaller variance, we were hoping the board may consider not requiring that covenant, but we offered it, and we'll still live by it if the board wants it.
And the court's still going to be sunk below ground, correct?
Right. So the court is sunk below ground. It's the variance is from our own property line, and it's not visible from any neighbors. As a matter of fact, there is room on the property to put a court, but it would be closer to the actual neighbors. We're trying to put it closer to our common boundary line. And again, you can't see it from the street. You can't see it from any of the neighbors' houses, and it's sunken.
Okay. Those are the only questions I had, Mr. Chairman.
I have a question. If this existing house is being taken down now, what is the restriction of having it placed within that setback? Is there a physical restriction, or is this just a request to to have it over the property line.
So originally, we had planned.
Property line or setback line? So, sorry to interrupt.
Sorry, what was the question?
Setback line, yes. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. All right.
So originally, the intent was to try to live with the house that's there now for a few years while the architect designs what will eventually be the new home. The reality is that that's probably not valuable to us. So that's part of the reason why the house was moved further from the common boundary line was in all likelihood, the existing house will be torn down, although it is possible to keep it. If you look, it would be essentially right on the tennis court where we're moving it now. Jim, what was your question? Whether it was possible to build it if the house? Oh, so right. So if the house were torn down, then you could technically locate the court on the property without the need for variance.
Right. And I noticed in your letter that it's saying that they're going to build about a 1,200 square foot house. I see here that they're allowed as much as almost 8,000 square feet. And I'm just wondering why they would be going so small when they have the ability to go larger. And is this just to accommodate the board for allowing this variance?
So I don't know. I assume you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing locally, which is that for the first 3/4 of my career, or 90% of my career, people were just trying to buy a piece of property and then develop it to the maximum potential. Now we're seeing more and more people own the property next to them, or 2 properties next to them, or 3 properties next to them. And people are basically putting together estates again. And the intent of this property, he already has a main house, which is a single and separate lot. This property was purchased for 2 reasons. One was to preserve what goes on. You're always worried about what your neighbors do. The second thing was you wanted a tennis court. So the driving force behind buying this property was a tennis court. You cannot, and then there'll be a tennis pavilion, which, because you can't have a tennis court on a property without a house, the tennis pavilion will be labeled a house, but it's going to be small. It's going to be like 1,200 square feet, and that will then eliminate the need for a variance. The code says that in order to have a tennis court, you need a primary structure. So
Right.
we're going to be calling what's in all practicality is a tennis house a house, which is why it's so small. But there would be no reason to build 2 main houses for them.
Sure.
At some point, 10 years or 15 years from now, that could certainly happen.
Right. So my feeling is, going back to Philip's question, if say the property were sold and now they want to come back and build an 8,000 square foot house, or slightly less than 8,000 square feet, I would feel more comfortable having that covenant of having the tennis court removed later on. Obviously, if the new owner is going to tear down the 1,200 square foot house and build an 8,000 square foot, they're going to be doing major work to the property with landscaping and stuff. So I think taking the tennis court out would not be a hardship, and then they can redesign it in a way that is more compliant. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but that's my feeling.
I understand your position.
Any board members want to comment?
I agree.
I agree.
Okay, that's something we can, Jonathan?
Yeah, no, we never intended to pull it away. We just, for practical purposes, it's not fun to record a covenant on a property, and nobody wants to do that. But I get your concern. So it's still something we're offering.
We can work that out with Vinny.
Okay, so
Question, does the covenant say, no, it says no variances on the property with the tennis court, but are there no variances going to be asked for in the other property?
No, I don't think that's I mean,
Just not the tennis court property.
yeah, just on the subject application property.
I don't think
Was the intent, at least.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
yes, please.
So I guess some of the the compelling reason I guess the board has is partly is that this is a sunken court. We have, I think the board should have some either detail or information or factual information about what, the extent to which it's sunken. You lower a court 6 inches below grade and that technically it's a sunken court. We don't have a section or detail. Is it 4 feet below grade or 3 feet below grade? I think that level of detail is pertinent.
I thought
Do
it was-
you happen to know what the standard depth is? Or what,
Why?
I guess the board could condition their approval on a depth that I'm just trying to wrap it up today because it's been a while.
Yeah.
So like the board could also, I guess, along I understand 100% your
4
question.
feet is 4 feet is conventional for a sunken tennis court.
Because we'd be the intent here is to actually sink it and not pretend to sink it. So whatever the standard depth is would be fine as a condition of
Yeah.
approval.
I'm just bringing it up because we've had this come up on other applications,
I
and
understand.
it was vague, and at the end, it was questionable whether the court was actually sunken, and so.
No, we're the
I'm
actual
trying to
neighbor,
avoid that
right?
at the end.
So it's actually our house that's next door to it. So we want to sink it in reality and not pretend.
Yeah, but
whatever the standard depth is.
It read sunken, I thought 4 feet, because I think that's in a couple of the other codes. I didn't realize it wasn't in our code. So,
Jim, does that make sense from an architect's point of view?
Yes. We typically sink them 4 feet.
Yeah,
We're happy
I think
with
that's
4
the
feet.
standard.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would just recommend the board then include that as a condition, that it be sunken 4 feet below existing grade in that area.
I agree.
Yeah, we're fine with that.
Okay.
agreed.
Right. So motion
So
to
moved.
close the hearing.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We have another request to run a hearing, Lisa and Gary Seff, 43 Mill Hill Lane. Do I have a motion to open the hearing?
I make a motion to open the hearing.
Yep. Second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Andy, go ahead.
Hi, how you doing? Andy Hammer, I'm here with Tara Burke. Basically, we did submit revised plans for the board's consideration. Essentially, what we're looking for at this point is a change to the actual plans approved. However, our revisions will comply and actually be a square foot less than the approved gross floor area that was granted a variance. So the house is no longer getting any larger in gross floor area. It will be compliant with the original determination in terms of coverage. We don't need any dimensional variances. We just are basically looking for a revised architectural element of the front of the house that includes that the rounded area as opposed to the turret. Originally, if you remember, we had appeared looking for additional gross floor area that was created by the squaring or the circular nature of this structure. We were able to remove gross floor area from the residence and thereby be compliant with our original variance that was granted of 120 something square feet, as I recall. So we'll actually be a square foot lower than that.
Okay, thank you. Would anybody else like to speak on this? Board members?
I'll say something. As we said before, when we granted the first variance, I think some of the board members had a concern of the massing, and especially it being kind of a new structure. The massing was very important, and it's on a kind of a small street where houses are not that large. I think with this new addition, even though the applicant is taking square footage from the rear of the house, I still think that this kind of puts another level of massing at the front or on the street side. That's my concern.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Any other comments from the board members?
I drove around the neighborhood, and it seems to be it has the potential to change the character of the neighborhood. It's definitely out of character to have that turret, over the street like that. The only other turret that I saw was I guess it's the Moran house over there where it had the turret on it. But it's set pretty far back from the street. It's not kind of looming over it. So that was just another concern I saw when I moved the property and moved around the area.
Mr. Rose?
No further comment.
Okay. Ms. Doyle?
I agree with what Jim and Phil said. It seems big for the street.
Yeah, and I also agree. I said, if the design had been proposed on the onset, I question the board's willingness to grant approval for it, to be honest with you. I agree with Jimmy and Phil also on this. Any other comments?
Just for a point of clarification, the original plan showed a squared off. It's not a turret. It's a kind of like a dorm, like a dormer with faceted sides. Is that something that the board is seeking to reimpose on this property? Because at the end of the day, I think it's going to be a major change. I thought it was helpful that it was framed, and perhaps that helped the board actually evaluate their concerns about the actual structure. But you would like that restored to the faceted dormer that was on the original plans, is what I'm hearing.
That would be my feeling. It was approved.
I think that's what the board
first design.
Could I just add something? Hi, it's Lisa Seth. Sorry, I called in as well because my internet kept telling me my internet was unstable. And I just
I have to swear you in again. Sorry.
Oh, sure. Go ahead. No, that's okay.
Please raise your right hand and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Lisa Seth, and my address is 43 Mill Hill Lane in East Hampton.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up that the new curved area versus the angled part of the structure is still within the first floor roof plan, and we actually have made that front stoop area smaller than it was originally. So the house that part of the house hasn't moved beyond the first floor line of the house. It's just moved like 2 feet closer to the house. The porch itself below, we've actually curved and reduced that area. And we're, so just to point that out, just a clarification.
Thank you. Any other comments? Do I have a motion to close the hearing?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in
we might have
favor?
lost
Since he's frozen.
Yeah.
So, I'll just jump in until John can reconnect. So we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. John back?
Thank you.
Thank you.
He still looks frozen.
Okay. So Pam, the next on the agenda are the hearings.
Yep,
Would you like to start?
sure. On the Levy application,
Yes, please.
application of Jack Levy and Francis W. Levy, Suffolk County, tax map number 301-812-30.2 and 10.2 for area variances from Chapter 278 zoning to construct an accessory dwelling unit. Variances of 13.7 feet and 14.1 feet are requested from Section 278 2B7E to construct an accessory dwelling unit 36.3 feet from the rear yard lot line and 35.9 feet from the side yard lot line, where the required setbacks are 50 feet and any other relief necessary. This application is proposing merging two properties located at 39 Georgia Road and 43 Georgia Road. The merger creates a 139,801 square foot lot, and both parcels are located in Residence District R80. This project is classified as a Type 2 action in accordance with SECR.
Is the applicant on the line or?
Yeah,
Hi,
that's,
John Tarbett. John Tarbett for the applicant.
Okay.
Again. So this is actually maybe one of the few times it's a win-win for the applicant and for the village, I believe at least. I think Billy Hajak's memo did a pretty
Hopefully
good
it's
job.
not the only time.
Yeah. Well,
We shoot that on every application.
yeah, well, that's the goal. That is definitely the goal. So what we have here is a property that was subdivided in the 1960s. It's a historic, the house is a historic home. It's been, I see the Trunzo's on the line. I'm not sure if they're here for this application or not, but they did the historic renovation of the interior of the house, did a beautiful job. And sorry, I thought I heard someone. Oh, maybe John's back. So, yep. So my client, when the property, sorry, I just keep hearing something. When the property was subdivided in the 1960s, it created a lot in front of the historic home that fronts on Georgia Road. And that is a single and separate lot that could be built on. My client has adult daughters and wishes to create some additional living space outside of his home that they could stay, where they could stay. He could build 5,000 square foot lot on that vacant property, and that would accomplish his goal. However, it's a beautiful setting, and it would detract from his use and enjoyment of the property, because he doesn't want to see a house built on George Road any more than the village would probably want to see a house built there. So when the affordable apartment law came in, it gave us some more design flexibility, where he could build an affordable apartment where his daughters could stay, or accessory apartment. I call it affordable accessory apartment, on his existing property. However, there's not a whole lot of room on his existing property. So what we did was we tried to come up with something that would make sense from a zoning perspective, and that is that we're offering to merge the two properties together, eliminating his ability to build on that front parcel and forever preserving that open setting with a historic home. And the ask is a variance from the side and rear yard setbacks. Because the property is so big, those side and rear yard setbacks are pretty big. They're 50 feet. So he's asking to locate the accessory apartment 35 feet from those two property lines. Two important facts are that one of the property lines is a common driveway serving multiple homes, and the rear yard is the house that's on that property. Between his accessory apartment and that house is probably about 200 feet, and it's a circular driveway on that property. So there's essentially two driveways and about 200 feet between his proposed accessory apartment and that house. Also super important is that accessory apartments can be 35 feet high. And in order to not impact neighbors, he purposely limited the height of the accessory apartment to 23 feet. So with any sort of landscaping, the accessory apartment would not be visible from the neighbors, and it would be 35 feet from them. And that's short of the application.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. Do we have any callers?
yes, that caller I believe was on the line for this. Let me pipe them through.
Thank you.
Caller, you're on the
Hi,
line.
yes, I'm a caller.
Good morning. Can you, Pam?
Sure. Please raise your right hand and state your name and address for the record.
Mitchell W. Sedgwick, 49 Georgica Road.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Sedgwick.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm the next door adjacent property that towards Crossways, between Footy Hill and Crossways. I want to speak in support of this because not only would it mean there wasn't another large house on Georgia, it would mean it wasn't, my property wasn't overlooked in perpetuity. I really appreciate that. I also appreciate that there's some height restrictions on this. We have a new house at 53 that's just been put in, and it's completely maxed out on the height and every other dimension, and it really looks directly into our property. So I'm particularly keen that you guys see this one through and just bringing in to support that.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Mr. Sedgwick. Billy, we have a memo that you put together for us. Maybe just hit the highlights on it.
Sure. Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. So it's an application to construct a 2,996 square foot accessory dwelling unit. The relief that's requested has been already discussed. A couple of the highlights from my report, the 39 Georgica Road, which is the house, the property with the existing historic residence, they're already entitled to build an accessory dwelling unit. So the fact that they're proposing to merge the vacant lot, only makes their parcel bigger. They could build the ADU as of right now. It's just the fact that what they're proposing requires a little bit of relief. There are a number of large specimen trees located throughout both parcels. I'd imagine constructing a dwelling on that vacant lot would probably result in removal of some of those trees, which would be, in my mind, kind of devastating. And the historic, when you're looking at historic houses or important homes, you want to maintain the setting. It's always about the setting, and it's preserving the house, but it's also maintaining the setting. And I think placing a new residence towards the front of that vacant lot would really upset the setting of the GH Strong house. And I think this accomplishes many objectives in maintaining that setting and also providing the applicant with the relief that they need to build an accessory dwelling unit. I would point out there is a notice of violation on both parcels. They did build a patio straddling that lot line. So this, granting this relief and merging those two parcels would, eliminate the need for rectifying that issue. And because the lot, the end result is the lot would be 1.5 times greater than the zoning restriction. To prevent any future subdivision of the parcel, I would recommend the board require a large lot scenic easement, and that extinguishes the ability to re-subdivide this property in the future. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Thank you, Billy.
Is the applicant amenable to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I probably failed to mention that the Levy's who own the property actually are trying to be good custodians of the property, which is why they spent the money fixing up the 100-year-old home. They've just done a beautiful job landscaping it. So this is, and as Billy mentioned, this is really about trying to make this property work the best way possible, not just for them, but for the future. Not only do we have the ability to put the accessory apartment on the property right now, we could actually do it without variances. It just would push it very close to the garage, which would be massing. From a neighbor's perspective, it would just be massing. You'd have this pre-existing non-conforming large garage, and then you'd have an accessory apartment next to it. The only reason for the request of the variance is just to try to create some gap and have it be aesthetically more pleasing. And the give is just because it's their intention that this property be something that's appreciated 100 years from now, and not just by them during their ownership. And absolutely, they would be happy to condition the approval on a prohibition against future subdivision.
Okay, thank you. I think it's a win-win for the village. Any other board members have any comments?
I agree. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
No, you first, Mr. Vice Chair.
I agree. I like that the whole front yard is being maintained as kind of it's been for a long time. Also putting that addition or that new structure kind of behind all the other structures, you really don't see it from the road. So I agree. And it's nice to see that applicants are taking the village's best interest into account as well. And I thank them for that.
Thank you. Okay, so a motion to,
well,
go ahead.
I just want
Sorry.
to underscore, and I agree with Jim's comments, and think this is an example of a good variance application in a way that's neighborly, both for that accomplishes the property owner's goals, benefits the neighbors and the village as a whole, and commend the applicant and thank the representatives for their accommodation, and thank Billy for his memo, which I think is very helpful. Move to close.
Any Okay, Philip, you have any comments? You gotta unmute yourself, Philip. Gotta unmute yourself.
I echo what was said. I think that's great.
Okay, thank you. All right, so motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Second. I
All
second.
in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Pam, we're going to move on to the last hearing of the day.
Application of
Thank
Heller
you.
Lane Residence LLC, subcounty tax map number 301-10-114.1 for area variances from Chapter 278 zoning and Chapter 124 preservation of dunes to legalize fencing and swimming pool equipment. A 9.8-foot variance is requested from Section 278-385C to legalize swimming pool equipment located 30.2 feet from the side yard lot line, where the required setback is 40 feet. Variances are required from Sections 278-3A7 and 124-1B1 to legalize approximately 265 linear feet of fencing located south of the 20-foot contour line and approximately 105 linear feet of fencing north of the 20-foot contour line, where all buildings and structures are required to meet a 25-foot setback from the 20-foot contour line and any other relief necessary. The subject property is 173,042 square feet in area and is located at 32 Heller Lane in Residence District R160. This project is classified as a Type 2 action in accordance with SEQA.
Okay, and the applicant is represented by you, Stephen. You got to unmute yourself.
Yes, and his father riding shotgun.
Okay, you guys are right.
Just
Okay, go
unmute
ahead.
one of them.
Stephen.
If I can speak first. We submitted a narrative explaining the circumstances necessitating these variances. And we also have available Brittany McGarry from Farm Design Landscape, who installed the fence that's at issue. So essentially think that what we should do is ask if you have any questions, because we've tried to do a thorough job of explaining the need for the variance.
Board members, any questions for Mr. Trunzo?
Yeah, can I just?
Mr. Rose, go ahead.
I understand the issue with the pool equipment and the pool fence. Can you just go about the fence and the dunes? Can we walk through that one?
Sure. So there was historically, from when the house was first built, a fence through this dune area, the northerly portion of the double dune area, which the lot extends into. When that fence deteriorated to the point where it wasn't really serving its purpose anymore. So Farm Design Landscape, knowing that a pool enclosure fence was still needed, ran a new fence through the same area. Because the vegetation in various points is dense and the slope of the bluff is also steep in certain areas, they tried to do so with the least disturbance to the duneland environment and vegetation. Unfortunately, neither we nor Farm Design knew about this setback requirement that keys into the 20-foot contour. So the building inspector picked it up when we went for the final inspection, and we are asked, we're here before you asking for a variance to try to put it as close as possible to where it was historically.
Thank you. Mr. Rose, any other questions?
Nope.
Phil?
Yeah, my understanding is that where you pulled out and disturbed, you revegetated. Is that correct?
No, we didn't do any disturbance or revegetation. In fact, the landscaping of the yard has actually gone more natural. I don't know if any member went to inspect the property, but it used to be typical lawn right to the edge of the bluff. So they've since pulled that back, and I think it's indicated on one of the maps that shows that the edge of lawn is much closer to the house, and a more natural grass has been planted from that point south. So it's I think more in keeping with the natural environment, the landscaping design that was installed with this renovation.
Okay, thank you. John, maybe Mr. Chairman.
I did visit the property. Go ahead.
I was going to say maybe we could hear the planner. If he has any comment.
From who?
From Billy. If
From
Billy
Billy.
comment.
I think John froze again.
Okay, I'll jump in.
We still
Billy,
like
can you
hearing you, Billy.
give us your overview?
Yeah, sure. I can give a brief summary. So if the board's not aware, this is a Norman Jaffe house. Partial to being a fan of his work. I think they did a very sensitive restoration of the house. And it's fits into the environment as Mr. Jaffe would have done. And it's very much undeveloped comparatively to the size of the property. So I would just leave that as a bit of information for the board. There, as Pat indicated, there was a legally pre-existing or pre-existing non-conforming fence throughout the dunes. And it was generally at the base of what you, I guess, loosely term a bluff. In the Atlantic Double Dunes, as you move from the beach to the northerly section, the vegetation transitions from typical beach vegetation, which is beach grass and heathers, beach plum, to a more heath environment, and it becomes a more woody type of vegetation. There are taller plants and taller trees, and it's mostly woody shrubs and woody trees. And I think based on my inspection, what they did here is they sort of navigated around the woody vegetation. So the fence is actually shielded. It's generally in the location of the previously existing fence. And if the board were to accept it as mitigation, they did restore what was lawn and is now a meadow. And I think the actual meadow, even though it's not traditional beach vegetation, I think it's appropriate because, as I said, when you move north, you transition into that heath forest, and it wouldn't be uncommon to find, meadow type vegetation in here, at the very upper reaches of it. So, I think if the board were inclined to approve this, I think you'd approve it on the grounds that they did offer the meadow as sort of a replacement of lawn into a more natural environment. So if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Billy.
Thanks, Billy. Any questions from the board?
No, I don't have a problem with this.
All right, thank you, Mr. Trunzo. Mr. Trunzo, we have a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
All in
Thank you.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And now a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.